Southeast of Hollesden, you will discover this beautiful and historic quiet town of Colyton. The handsome church of St Andrews, largely rebuilt in the 15th century, has a tower crowned by an octagonal lantern. Inside the church are some of the finest monuments found in Devon, and tells a story spanning 1,000 years. Colyton has many narrow streets dating back to 700, and in 827 the Saxon Parliament was held here. Today its best kept secrets are the many small industries. One such, surviving the progress of time, is the coach builder in Wheelwright, found a short walk from the centre of town. Mike Rowland and wife Doreen, together with the help from their son Gregory, runs this busy traditional craft.
Well, this is the old rack bench. Circular saw with a travelling bed. First came to Colyton in 1876 as a pun. Been in use ever since. Rather slow by today's standards, but the beauty of this whole thing is that we can have a tree and cut out what wood we want to out of. Very accurate the product from it really. Whereas the modern bandsaws do waver a bit, this one is extremely accurate.
Today, after repairing 2 old artillery wheels, is to install their steel tyres. This is the time when his yard gets to tidy up, using any old timber that he has saved for that purpose. While waiting for the fire to get going, Mike showed me round his workshop.
Well, this is a single end tensioner, mortiser adapted for boring, pullover crosscut, mortiser with a square hollow chisel in, spindle moulder, over and under planer and thicknesser in fact. It's a Wheelwright's lathe, turn up to 16-inch diameter hub. It's a sanding machine. And the hub's drying. Gotta leave them there for 12 to 18 months before we think about using them. Some elm, some beech, and some applewood there. Wheelwright's bandsaw. Use that one mainly for cutting the fellies. That's the larger bandsaw, which we use for cutting shafts and heavy plank. It's got a large table, which means that you can rest the work on the table. When you've got a heavy plank, you need all help you can get. This vehicle is what we call now a barrel tray. I suppose in each day it would have been called a lorry. But that one was originally made for Young's Brewery in Wandsworth in London. It's a London-made thing. Round about, I don't know, somewhere about 1912, 1913, I would guess. What we've done is took off all the ironwork, cleaned it up, and completely rebuilt the woodwork. It's exactly as it was. Well, that vehicle there, doubling up as a coat rack, is a miller's wagon. Come from somewhere over on the east coast. I don't know exactly where. What happened was that somebody started to restore it and run out of steam. They brought all the bits, you'll see it on the floor behind it there. And that'll be the next job. We shall have to put that one up together. Yeah, that one would be fairly heavy duty. He'd be run with a pair of horses, and I suppose he'd carry anything up to about 5 ton. When we've got a wagon to paint, we drop the curtains down to prevent the dust drifting in on the paint. This is the wheels we'll be bonding this afternoon. The 2 red ones, the 2 small ones, they were made during the First World War, and they came off an Army General Service wagon. That's what you call artillery wheels there. So called because of the hub bolts on either side, whereas normally the wheels have a wooden hub which we turn and mortise out the spokes that way. The yellow wheel is from a 2-wheeled carriage, private driving. That one's got to be fitted with the solid rubber tyre, which you can see in the foreground there on the floor.
Extreme heat is required to expand the metal, and at this stage I asked how they obtained a perfect circular tyre. Gregory kindly explained.
Very simple system. It's about 200 years old, and basically all it consists of is, as you turn this, we turn a cog through so that both bottom rollers are turning, and the top roller is a freestanding roller which just follows the curve. And obviously as I tighten down these 2 screws, I bring the top roller down. That pushes it between the 2 lower rollers, which I'm turning manually, and it produces a curve at the other end. Now this is a straight piece of metal, piece of scrap metal going in, just to demonstrate. And as you can see, it's going in straight, and when it's coming out, we've got the radius on it. And the tighter I go with these top 2 screws is going to be the tighter radius I get. And this is carried on until I've got exactly the right size for the wheel.
I then asked how they calculated the size of the tyre.
Well, we measure the outside of a wheel with the traveller, which I'll show you in a minute. And then we run off the size of the tyre on a piece of bar. And the minimum we would allow is ½ an inch. That would mean that the tyre would be ½ an inch shorter than the circumference of the wheel. But on a big tyre, on like these 5-foot ones, anything up to 1.25 inches. But it mainly depends on whether it's a new wheel or whether it's an old one. Because what you do is drive the spokes in as hard as you can get them in a new wheel. And you leave joints in the fellies to allow the wheel to contract, and you drive the spokes in tighter than you can drive them with a mallet. But on an old wheel, the spokes have already bedded themselves in, so on an old wheel would normally be less shrinkage on the tyre than on a new one.
A check on the tyre reveals that it has not fully expanded. Therefore, Mike has time to explain the coach building side with finer points we all take for granted.
Well, when you're making a horse-drawn vehicle, one of the things that's important nowadays, because they go into the show ring, is the look of the vehicle with the horses, the formation. The judges like to see the right formation, and it must be in scale with the horses that are being used. The other thing is easy draft, which means that you've got to have just the right amount of towing on the wheels, and also the wheelbase is very important. It's not a thing that there are any guidelines in books that tell you. It's just one of those things you've got to judge it with each individual vehicle. It's very difficult to explain, actually. But for instance, in the show ring, the horses have got to stop in front of the judge, and when they pull away, if the horse have got to lean into his collar and he drops his head, they lose points. He's got to be able to walk away keeping his head up, which means that they could be very light on draft.
At this point, a decision is made.
Randy, you summit, Randy.
Whoa, back a bit, back a bit. That's it.
All right.
Oh.
Okay, round that front. All good. Follow me right. Go on.
Don't put any water through it yet.
Leaf down. More tap there. Over there.
It's not the same as
He's
the
all right.
Otter chair.
You all right?
He's on metal.
Yeah, why not?
Can I leave go?
Yeah. You don't, so you right, yeah?
There's no film, do you?
The only thing you can't get on that video is the smell.
The empty column. Eh?
Oh, yeah.
Pop round there.
It's good. Think about it. There's all the stuff. Yeah, isn't it?
There is some there, Simon.
Sit on there.
Still frying there, isn't it? Yeah. It's really up like the joint bread.
Burning, is it?
We've got to cool
Well,
him
that's
before
what-
the wood burns, otherwise you get a ring of fire there and he'll work itself loose, you see. That'll just powder out. Right. What you saw burning there was gas more than...
It's still bloody up there, Simon.
The old joint pulled up tight now. Then.
He's starting to pull off though.
It was hot, wasn't it?
He was. We did say he was going to be, didn't we?
Bear Inn in King Street dates back to the 15th century. It is here, next door, one will find Gregory running his blacksmith business when he is not giving his father a hand.
After spending 4 years in the Remy in the army, I decided to leave and start my own forge beside the Bear. A lot of the tools you can see are very traditional tools, and I do try to keep electrical implements to a minimum. Obviously, with grinding and things, it saves a lot of time to cope with the day's needs.
A short distance from these lush green meadows through which the Collie flows, one will find Fred Barrett, an octogenarian who has been the local apiarist for many years.
Well, I've been keeping bees since about 1947. I started with Mr. Ted Hooper, and we had a number of hives. In fact, we went up to about 70 hives in those days. And then Mr. Hooper left the district, and he went on with commercial beekeeper who, and while he was there, he took his national diploma in beekeeping and became the beekeeping instructor for Essex. He then wrote a book, a guide to bees and honey, after he retired from Essex, and that became a bestseller in beekeeping, and is now the recognised teaching handbook for beekeeping. After that, him and Roger Morse edited an encyclopedia of beekeeping. A jolly good book it is too. I'm going to have a look at this hive first, because I think there's trouble here, and the trouble I'm expecting is that they've lost the queen. I've given them some smoke, and that's to make them gorge some honey. Well, these have got plenty of stores. This is right in the centre of the hive, and they've got stores right to the bottom bar. So they should have plenty to last them the winter. But I don't see any brood whatsoever, and that's what makes me suspicious that they haven't got a queen. They're bringing in plenty of pollen. As you can see, there's pollen all the way around here. Well, what's happening by the looks of things, there's this looks like a lame worker here, but I can't be too sure. The that cell and that cell is looks to be a drone cell, which will be a drone in miniature. I can't see any sign of eggs in this spot at all. Oh, they've made a queen, and there's the brood. So that brood is quite all right. That's lovely patch of worker brood there.
Where's the queen, Fred?
Well, I can't see her, but you see, that is worker brood. Well, just about 2 weeks ago, I saw drones here, and I can't understand why, because a lot of the eyes were throwing their drones out back in July. I can usually spot a queen, but I don't expect to find her on there with sealed brood. Well, look, that's funny, isn't it? There's a drone. That's what I can't understand about this eye. See the drone there? This is a drone. And they don't normally keep, and there's another drone there. They don't normally keep these during the winter, and yet they got a lovely patch of brood there. Oh, there's a queen. Can you see her there?
Yes.
Have you got her?
Yep. Large, isn't she? Very large.
Well, she's longer. Oh, well, that's nice to know that they're not queenless. and this is a feeder. And what happens is the bees come up the side and get the syrup, which is put in here. The syrup is put in there, and then this one floats up on the syrup, and the bees don't drown. They go down like that, and they're able to suck up all the syrup from the bottom there. But this really is one of my own inventions, this feeder, because what I've done is a ventilated feeder. When I was doing a lot of beekeeping, I could leave the feeders on, and they were already ventilated to move. And look at the pollen coming in here. They're bringing it in by the loads. Here you can see what I mean about the ventilated feeders, you see. And the bees come up here and right up on the float. Well, they stuck it up with propolis, so anyway, I better give them a little bit of smoke. And these are coming in, you see these coming in with the white pollen, the white on the back. They've been down to the river and gathering pollen from down from a plant down there that grows on the river bank. I must say, they seem very, very good tempered for with the weather like it is. And I'm looking to see what they're like for stores. Oh, they're by no means short of stores, look. They've got and pull out right down to the bottom of the frames. So these should be going into winter well fed. This part of Devon is not a good place for honey because it's on the clay, and the clay tends to be cold, and the flowers don't yield so well on the cold clay as they yield on the lime soils. We'll have a look at that little lot up in that little swarm that I got. I can give these some more food. No, I'll give them some more food. And it's only a little tiny swarm that I picked up on the last day of August. Ooh, this one's heavy. Well, I won't keep them out too long because I can see I saw a brawler mite on one of these. There's a little tiny mite on one.
Britain's only open-top, narrow-gauge double-decker electric tramway departs on a daily service from here at Colyton, heading to the seaside resort of Seaton, 3 miles away. The tramway follows the River Axe, and it is here we leave them, for we have an appointment to keep back in town.
We're J&FJ Bakers of Colyton, and we're one of the 2 remaining oak bark tanneries left in England. There's been a tannery here since the Roman times, and there was probably a tannery here before then. The tannery was then using oak bark for their tanning, and we're still using the same process today. It's a long tannage. It takes 12 months to tan the leather, and it produces a very fine shoe leather and a very strong Sadrian harness type of leather. We also dress the leather, which means that we fill it with greases and oils and stain it so that it's ready to go out to the saddlers to be cut up into strips for saddles, stirrups and harness. The water wheel's a 17-foot wheel. It's undershot and it ticks over for 24 hours of the day. It runs our rockers in the tan yard, and when we're grinding the oak bark, it runs the grinder as well. Obviously for grinding we run it at a faster pace. These are the latches where we make the tan liquors. We bring in 17 wheelbarrows of bark. 17 wheelbarrows makes 1 pit, and then we simply let the water down from the river and let it soak there until the liquor becomes strong enough. It's soaking the tan out of the bark, and when it becomes strong enough, it then goes up into the tan yard to start tanning the leather. As that bark gets older, it begins to sink and gets waterlogged. We empty the liquor, pump it up to the tan yard, and when we throw that bark over into the next door pit, where it gets soaked again. Obviously it's a weaker liquor this time, but this way we get all the tan out of the bark before it goes out onto the bark heap, and in time that'll then go to be sold for gardens. This is the lime yard. The hides, when they've been de-haired and fleshed, come down here. We trim off the trimmings, and then they're ready for de-liming, and they get de-limed in a weak solution of acid. These are the shoulders that are soaking in the de-limer. They'll be in here for about 3 to 4 hours, and then they'll be ready to go off into the tan yard. The lime has to be taken out of the hides because the acidity in the tan liquors doesn't get on with the lime, and it produces a black, hard leather. So it's got to be neutralized first. These are our tanning pits, and these are suspender pits where the leather is suspended from the pole. And each week, these hides move up 1 pit at a time, and the liquor, the strong liquor, which starts at the top of the round, comes back 1 pit. So as the liquor comes back, it gets weaker, until it is spent at the end, and then it obviously is for waste. The hides, when they've gone to the top of the round, which is after 3 months, are then ready to go into layer pits. The layer pits are very deep, they're about 7 foot deep, and the hides are taken off the poles and they're laid flat one on top of the other with a sprinkling of bark between them. And they'll stay there then for another 9 months until they're fully tanned and ready to come out. Raymond's bringing in the bellies to hang over the poles to dry them off.
They're in dry.
He's set and reset them, and he's got them up hanging to dry. When they've dried right out, we'll then take them down and damp them back, give them a light damping, ready for rolling, when they'll then be finished. Here we're rolling the leather. The leather's been dried, so there's only a small amount of moisture left in it. We roll them 3 times. They get rolled first time on a lighter weight. They're allowed to dry for a day, and then they get rolled the second time. They're dried again for a day, and then finally rolled on a much firmer weight on the third time, and then we leave them to dry right out. And for shoe leather, it is then finished and ready to go down to the warehouse. Alan's shaving the leather here. These are stirrup butts and have been reshaved to a level substance of about 5 millimeters. It's a large hydraulic machine. They're setting the leather out here. The leather's come from being shaved and retanned in shoe mat. And they're pushing out the creases and also taking out some of the stretch. When they've been over the grain once, they'll then cod oil it and be ready then to be hung up to dry. It'll start to dry, and then they'll take it down again and reset it, oil it again, and then hang it up until it's fully dry. See, Gary's just oiling it now, ready for him and Peter there to take it up and hang it up on the frame. Here we're in the brown shed. The Sabine harness leather, the bridle butts, the stirrup butts and the harness backs come down here to be finished. They get stained on the grain into the various colours like black and dark brown and the light London colour. And then they're finally dubbined on the flesh and the grain. We heat up the tallow and cod oil and put it, when it's warm, put it on both sides with a brush, and then they're put into heaps and they're laid down there for a number of days, and the dubbin then feeds into the leather to produce a nice finish. When we get the orders for the leather, we take the leather onto the table and polish off what remains of the dubbin. That produces a nice shine, but also a nice waterproof and well-dressed piece of leather. Here we pack the leather up or tie it up, ready to go to its final destination. We wait for the orders to come in, and then we get the leather finished up, that is, take the dubbin off it. And it comes in here, we roll it up, hopefully we label it right, and it goes off to a satisfied customer.
This tramway has been down here since 1970 when it first came to Seaton. The original terminus was where our depot is now. The tramway originally started in North London at Barnet. It was by a tramway enthusiast who, when the London trams came off, he decided to build his own tramway. And he used to run at fetes and stuff in the Hertfordshire area. In 1953, he went to Eastbourne, where it was 5/8 of a mile of track. But it was never very satisfactory there because it was only on a lease, the land was only leased. So when this line became available in the 1970s, we acquired it. The line is 3 miles long, and the part between Colyton and Riverside was an old railway line which closed in 1966. The line used to join up the main line at Seaton Junction. A lot of the work on the tramway is done by tramway enthusiasts, volunteers. There is a nucleus of paid staff who do more of the heavy maintenance work, like what is going on here, which goes on, of course, all during the winter. Normally the tram would run during the winter, but this year, owing to the fact there's so much maintenance work to do, we will have to close from the end of October round till Easter.
the home for Constance Werrett, who lives together with her twin sister Faith. One of Constance's pastimes is looking after a variety of unusual pets. A look around their garden brings many surprises.
These are the Chinese geese. That is Nanky Poo. And Ming, the gander, he's very nippy and he's caught me many times. And Apple Blossom at the back. Nanky Poo was hatched out by a very small bantam